Hi, I'm Monique Ruff-Bell, Event Director for Money 2020 Las Vegas, and I am here with Her Excellency Serey Chea, Director General for the National Bank of Cambodia. So you just came off of the stage and you were talking about balancing risk and innovation, the regulatory perspective. What are the differences between fintech in Asia and the rest of the world?
Um, I think one of the differences is that there is a lot more need for innovation. Obviously there's more challenges in Asia, and therefore there's more need to address those challenges. And so I think most of the time innovation comes when you are in a sort of, it is in adversity that innovation will come. That one, and I think also the fact that in Asia, well, particularly where I'm coming from, which is a developing country, there's a lot of opportunity to leapfrog as well, because we don't have legacy system. We don't have anything that is already efficient and trying to make it more efficient. We just don't have anything, and we need to come up with something to solve that. And particularly trying to solve the issues within these times of 4IR, it's very exciting because you have all these technology available. So what can we do with it to make our life better, to help with the SDG, for instance.
Fantastic. So we are starting to see more Chinese tech giants expand into the rest of Asia through acquisitions, partnerships, and technology service provisions. How do you see this trend affecting financial services in Asia?
I think the like of WeChat and Alipay at the moment, they're targeting their own citizen, and they have a huge market already. But I think the other Asian country would also have opportunity to innovate and have something of themselves. Different markets have different needs. Different markets have different sort of legal framework and cultures and mentalities. And I think there are possibilities for other countries in Asia to innovate and introduce their own way of doing things. I mean, look at Grab. There's Uber in the Western world, but you don't have Uber here now. It's taken over by Grab. So in Cambodia, we have an app which is called, similar to Grab, but Pass app. And interestingly, it's actually more popular than Grab. So there's always a way to do and find your own niche market.
Absolutely. Why do you think it's more popular? Grab is more popular than Uber?
Which is it's taken over. I think Grab took over Uber here. But I don't know. Maybe it addresses some of the. I don't know Grab that well, but it's probably has addressed some of the sort of regional challenges better than Uber, and it's understand the markets better than imported apps.
So what does banking look like to you in 2030?
It's interesting. Now, I used to think that branchless banking would be something that it's too, but now I start to think that it could actually happen, where a lot of the banking transaction would now happen just on your mobile screen. We start seeing some what they call it, internet bank or online bank, where you don't have any physical offices, everything happen online. So yes, I think there could be, we could be using banking services without having a bank. And somebody said this, I've heard it, is that people need banking services and not banking institutions. So I think banks should actually be worried and try to do something more innovative than the usual business. It's not business as usual for them, at least. So they have to also start thinking about other innovation as well.
Absolutely. So we have something called Rise Up that we host at all 4 of our Money 2020 shows, and it's basically empowering women leaders within fintech and financial services. And so we've been having these great discussions within the Academy hosted here. And I kind of want to ask you two questions that many of the ladies have been talking about and kind of get your thoughts on and opinions on that. So one thing is basically career trajectory and what are 3 things that a woman should do to ascend within her career within financial services and fintech?
It's very interesting. First of all, you need to have a role model to inspire others to follow suit. And I used to think that the quota-based system is not good because then people were trying to fill the quota without looking at the actual capability of the women promoted, and therefore you reinforce that belief that women can't do the job. But eventually I come to realize that it's helpful at the beginning, because when you have this quota, you sort of open up for the younger generation to see, well, this is possible for me to follow. So I don't have to give up my study. I should go towards that because there's this role model and I want to go there. So role model is important. The second is to help with the coaching. And I think Women World Banking has been doing it very well with their leadership course, where they help regulators, because when we want to promote access for women, the regulator themselves, there has to be some women voices as well. So this is a program where the women leadership within the central bank can bring another sort of a rising star with her, and then together try to work out sort of a mentor-mentee relationship. And I think that is great. But what is also great is I also find a lot of time it's the women ourselves that look down on us.
Yes.
And so I would actually, so at one point in time, I would actually feel bad to be a working mother. And then others, they'll be all the time at their kids' school, and they'll be like, how I wish I could do that. And my kid will be, well, how come you're not taking me to school and this and that? So, and then people will be looking at you and like, oh, you're not a good mother because you're not there, you're not attending the shows. And it makes me feel bad. But then at the same time, I also realized a lot of these women will look at me and say, oh, I wish I could be like her, going out and talk. And I'm like, well, maybe we should sit and talk more. It's not just women in the workforce, but also women who stays at home. They're doing a lot of job, and we don't give enough credit to them. And so there's this sort of disconnect between these two category, the working women and the stay-at-home mom. I tried to be a stay-at-home mom for 1 month and I just gave up.
That wasn't for you.
It didn't work out because I used to my office sort of work style, and I tell my staff to do something and they go four-legged and do the stuff for me, and then I'll tell this to my children like, no, mommy. So I realized how hard it is to also be a stay-at-home mom. So I think there need to be more dialogue between the two type of women, and that we don't just look at the others as not good enough mom, or we look at, well, it's the lazy women who just want to stay at home and not doing it. So I think there's value in both of these, and so we need to talk about this, because otherwise we'll keep having this sort of perception on each other, and it's kind of make us feel bad also.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very great points. Another very lively conversation that we've had in our discussions is kind of navigating the male-dominant workforce and how you do that effectively. I assume you've had experience doing that, and what are some tips and tricks you think could be helpful for women who are navigating a male-dominant workforce?
It's not always busy. I need a lot of mental work, and I think at one point in time, and it's depend on places and people, there are times when you'll be looked down at as just a woman, and you'll be, I got invitations that would say Mr. all the time. And I can walk into a room and people will be greeting my assistant rather than me until I actually go and sit at the head of the table, and they realize, oh, that was you that we wanted to man. Well, I have two choices. I either take offense on it, or I just, be amused and go on with it. So I choose to just, take it lightly and be amused and go on with it. So that's one. So it's also a mental work.
Yeah.
The other thing is sometimes you can use this to your own advantage as well, because when you're the only woman in the room, sometimes when you say something, people tend to stop and listen and what she has to say. Versus if it's all a man's world and everyone is competing to say something. But if you're the only woman in the room or few in the room, they'll usually sit and listen to you. But this is also the pressure, is that you have to work really hard on what you have to say. And your first impression is very important, and that's going to have sort of impact on what you're going to say next after that. So work hard on your material before you go into the meetings. The first impression is very important, and also try to not take things too seriously and just play around. I mean, just take it playful with some of the negative sort of comments that you may get eventually by some of the male macho. So that's how I sort of navigate that.
Well, thank you for sharing those great tips. You're very inspiring. And thank you for joining Backstage Talks.
Thank you.